Hello everyone, and welcome to another video by Falling Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm sorry I haven't done a video in a while, but I've been busy with the holiday season and working on the main channel. But I just wanted to drop in, and I thought today that we could talk a little bit about the Brothers Grimm and the translations we can find for the Brothers Grimm in English. Now, of course, I'm not going to talk about every English translation of the Brothers Grimm. There is quite a bit, but I am going to talk about a few of the famous ones and show off my copies of those books that I have. And the first one I'm going to start with is an English translation that was done in 1882 in England, and it was done by Lucy Crane. And although the translation, Lucy Crane's translation, is not as famous, her brother's drawings, Walter Crane, his drawings were really influential. Some of the first really famous illustrations of the Brothers Grimm. This is a copy of Lucy Crane's translation of the Brothers Grimm. Looks like it was owned by Anna M. Campbell. She first got it in 1895, and then she signed her name again in 1900, and we see another signature of hers there. This is an American copy, and it's probably, well, from that signature we know it's probably printed around 1895. There's no actual date on it, but this is the classic illustrations from the Lucy Crane and Walter Crane Grimms. And those have become very famous illustrations. Not only are there a lot of illustrations, he also does tons of smaller illustrations at the top of each story. I really love these illustrations. So fun, whimsical illustrations. Oh, here's a popular one. Here's Rapunzel. There's so much we can talk about with all these fairy tales, but for now, I'm just showing off the collection. Eventually, I will on this channel get into talking about each of these fairy tales. Interestingly enough, this doesn't have a table of contents. It has a list of illustrations. I wanted to point out an interesting story here. This is a story that does not exist in any of the actual original Grimm's fairy tales, The Wolf and the Seven Goslings, and that's because Lucy Crane mistranslated a word that meant goat in German. She thought it meant goose, so we get this unique titled story, The Wolf and the Seven Goslings, which is not an actual Grimm title. And the story itself changed, of course, because she does indeed make this about goslings instead of about goats. Yeah, so there is the Lucy and Walter Crane early American edition of their Brothers Grimm. The next books that I want to talk about are a translation that was done by Margaret Hunt, and there aren't illustrations in this one, but this is the most famous English translation, or at least it was for many, many years. This is the translation that most people will have read when they read the Grimms in English. So this is a 2-copy, and this is an actual first edition of Margaret Hunt's Grimm's Household Tales. You can tell this is ex libris, and it came from New Zealand, and the lady that I bought these from got them in New Zealand at a sale, or maybe I don't know exactly where she got them, but the General Assembly New Zealand Library. You can see that they were withdrawn. A lot of people really hate ex libris. They don't bother me that much when it comes to something as incredible as a first edition of Margaret Hunt's Grimm's Household Tales. As you can see, Andrew Lang did an introduction in this one, and it is in 2 volumes, and it is the Covent Garden, first edition, 1884. What a wonderful, wonderful set of books to have here. And these are in the correct order. The Crane one that I showed just picked kind of different stories that they wanted to talk about. This one is in the same order as the Grimms have them. Wonderful, wonderful collection of books. So glad to have them. This one's coming apart a little bit, so I have to be careful. You can see some splitting of the block there. Yeah, really, really incredible, important piece here. Margaret Hunt's original English translation of Grimm's fairy tales. While we're in the 1880s, I'm going to show a book that actually goes against what I said this was about, which was Grimm's fairy tales translations in English. And I am going to show an example of what a Grimm's fairy tale book published in the 1880s in Germany looks like. It's a smaller book, but there you go. I love the art on this. Somebody's taped the spine. This is how I got it. These weren't made to last. They were, of course, children's books. This is from 1889. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. And there are illustrations in this. Let's see if I can find a few. Here's one. These are the old lithograph type. Really wonderful illustrations in this book. Here's another one. Should be right there. There we go. There's a famous one. Little Red Cap, Little Red Riding Hood. Oh yeah, Sleeping Beauty. Got the roses, spinning wheel. Yeah, every bit of this story is included in that. Snow White. Yeah, so there's what a German copy from the 1880s of the Brothers Grimm looked like. We're going to make a jump in years here. Unfortunately, I don't have Brothers Grimm illustrated by Arthur Rackham anywhere near a first edition for that one. Those go for big bank because Arthur Rackham, of course, is one of the most influential, most beloved illustrators of all children's literature and of the Brothers Grimm as well. So this is the copy that I have, and you can see Arthur Rackham doesn't do just beautiful paintings. He also does beautiful work on all the pages. Here's the Goose Girl. So yeah, that's something I'm working on getting an earlier copy of, but that's the only copy I have of that. Now, modern translations of the Brothers Grimm, I do have a favorite, and he's actually done 2 versions. So if I were to recommend a modern translation of the Brothers Grimm, I would recommend Jack Zipes' version. I really love his work. He's, of course, a very famous fairy tale scholar, and his translation, in my opinion, is the one that I would recommend. But he did a cool thing. So, of course, all these translations that we've seen so far have been translations of the later editions. The Brothers Grimm did quite a few editions. I think this is Rumpelstiltskin there. Did quite a few editions of the household tales. And every time they did them, they changed. And they were actually making them more and more acceptable for children. When they first started, their goal was to find tales that were specifically of German origin as kind of a way to simultaneously create and keep alive their idea of German culture. So when they first did these tales, they didn't want to change anything. They wanted them to be as close to exactly as they were told as possible. And that's where we get my absolute favorite, most recent translation of the Brothers Grimm. This is again by Jack Zipes. And what he did is he took the very, very first edition and translated the entire first edition of the Brothers Grimm household tales. And in this edition, we really get the original tales. These are if you want the weird, dark, scary Grimm's fairy tales, this is the book to get. This is the earliest and scariest these tales were. You get stuff like evil stepmother in Snow White is her actual mother and stuff like that. And Rapunzel is absolutely crazy. So yeah, this is, if you have that desire to read the scariest, earliest Grimm fairy tales, this is the one to get. All right, that's all I have today. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.